welcome to this evening's talk. My name is Rachel Priestman, and I'm very happy to be with you this evening. The topic today is expecting nothing, ready for anything. And it's actually a slogan or a motto that I've carried around with myself for a long, long time, many decades. And it comes from the ancient Japanese military warriors, the samurai. And this was what the motto that they used to use, that we have to be expecting nothing and we have to be ready for whatever comes. And it occurred to me that that is exactly what we need to be able to do right now in the times we're living in. Because we're living in times of huge change and uncertainty. I mean, nobody's seen a year planner for 2022, just as we hadn't seen one for 2021. We have to accept the fact that we just have to kind of just see what happens and make the best of it. And so to have that sense of readiness and preparedness for whatever does happen is extremely helpful. And also this sense of being open to things that perhaps I hadn't planned. Because if I think about what it means to expect really is like I've taken a photograph of how things are going to be, how someone is going to respond to me, how the situation is going to turn out, whatever it is. I've taken that picture and I'm expecting that it will be like that. And then when it isn't like that, I get upset or cross or hurt or disappointed. But actually I have to ask myself, who took the picture? It was just me. And of course, if there was another person involved, they will have taken a different picture. And so just recognizing that expecting is actually something that I've created within my own mind. And in a way, to expect is to try and have some sort of control over situations or control over the future. And I don't know about you, but I'm being taught by life many, many times that I cannot control other people. I cannot control events, situations. The only thing I can hope to control with discipline, with practice, and with humility and humor is to control myself. And this is really, I think, the key to being in that state of expecting nothing and being ready for anything. It's recognizing that actually the only thing I need to be able to control, to be in command of, is my own self. It's much, much easier, and we've kind of got into the habit of it. It's much easier to blame other people or situations or my upbringing or whatever it was on however things are or however I feel. But quite often, instead of pointing out, what I really need to do is to look inside and what was behind the expectation? Why is the expectation there? That's another question. So I'd like to explore some ideas I've had around expectation, but I hope also over the course of the next hour that there'll be things that come up that are very positive and valuable for you and practical for you in your lives, because that's why we're all here. That's why we're giving our time for this, is there's something, even if it's just one thing that I learn I'm going to try, I'm going to practice, I'm going to experiment with. This is what this is all about. So yes, expecting is, I've taken the picture, and basically expecting is taking. If you think about it, if I'm expecting, I'm literally I'm looking out, I'm looking outwards to receive what I want. And so, yes, I'm actually begging quite often. I don't think of it as begging. But if I'm expecting people to be in a certain way, to respond in a certain way, to accept me or to see me the way I want them to see me, in a way, I'm in that taking mode. I'm in a needing mode. If I'm ready, then I'm in a giving mode. I'm in an offering mode. And what makes me ready is that I'm comfortable in myself. And what makes me needy and taking and expecting is that I don't feel comfortable in myself. I don't feel I'm enough. There's something that I'm perhaps not even wanting to see, but there's something that's making me feel ill at ease. And that's why I'm looking outside. I'm looking at other people. I'm looking at labels and position and possessions and status and popularity and all of these things I'm looking for outside in order to make me feel good. And this is really one of the key things about Raja Yoga meditation, which is the meditation I practice. Raja, becoming the master of my own mind and the master of my own life as a result of that. Because what I'm doing is that I'm taking responsibility. I'm not expecting other people to make me happy. I'm not expecting other people to make me feel valuable. I'm not expecting other people to do what I want them to do. And that's huge. And I can only do that if I've spent the time with my own self, looking at what's happening inside, perhaps getting rid of the things that are holding me back or hurting me or in some way creating pain within myself. To doing that inner work, as we call it, but not with wire wool, with love, with cotton wool, but painstakingly, lovingly, but precisely, just cleaning up the stains, the hurts, the negativity, so that my own mind, my own heart is a comfortable place for me to be in. Because if there is any negativity, if there's any fear, if there's any anger, if there's any sense of guilt or a bad conscience or whatever, that will prevent me from being who I really am inside, which is a being of peace, a being of wisdom, a being of happiness, a being of love. This is who I really am. This is who all of us really are. But we forget it. And we get caught up in the soap opera of life. It's like a kind of 3D soap opera. All the stories, all the people, what they say, what they did, how I compare with them, all of that starts to take over. And it's very easy to lose sight of who we really are inside. The goodness inside, the strength, the courage, the compassion. All of that is there inside us. But sometimes, as I say, we get caught up in the story. I know I do. So it's not like you switch a switch and then it's finished. It's constantly, the story is constantly coming back, and you just have to say, and it's good. It's not that I don't have my family, I don't have, I don't go to work, or I don't do my studies, or I don't do whatever it is I'm doing. It's not that I stop and sit under a tree and cross my legs and say I'm spiritual and I don't need to do any of that. No. But it's almost as if whilst I am doing everything, I keep reminding myself who I really am. I remind myself of those inner treasures, that inner goodness, and that inner power that I have inside myself, to be able to deal with situations and to be able to deal with them from a place of my values and not using those old coping mechanisms of anger or selfishness or greed or ego or whatever it is, these things that I have perhaps used in the past to get my way, to safeguard my own well-being. And I thought that I was using them to protect myself, to protect my peace, to safeguard my love, to keep my happiness or to find my happiness. I thought I was using all of these things in a way that was going to help me. But actually, all of these weaknesses or vices or shortcomings, whatever we want to call them, defects, anger, ego, greed, like possessiveness, all of these things, we use them thinking that they're looking after us. But actually, they harm us. And they harm me first. Because any angry word harms me first, because I say it. So it's like holding a ball of fire. The fire hurts my hand first. But to sort of have humor while I'm looking at these things, and to have compassion for myself also. Not to go into a kind of fierce expectation of myself to be absolutely perfect now, because that's what I want to be. To recognize that, yes, I am that soul. I am that being of peace, that being of love, that being of infinite wisdom. But I've lost sight of it. And not only have I lost sight of that, but I've gained some unhealthy, unhelpful habits. And this is where the selfishness comes in, the needing to protect myself, to look good, to get my own way, to prove that I'm right. And so in meditation, what I'm doing is I'm just coming back again and again and again to that original truth of who I really am and who all of us really are. Because if I really believe that I am that spiritual being, yes, I have this physical body, but I'm not my arms, I'm not my legs, I'm not my eyes. I use my eyes, I use my legs, I use my arms. So just separating the consciousness within the physical body, within my physical persona or whatever. And even I'm separate from my body. I, the soul, the spiritual being, I'm separate from my body, but I'm also even separate from my personality. Now, that's quite a big one to take on. But if you think about it, what makes a personality? A personality is created from my kind of regular practices, from my habits. So my habits create my personality. And what creates my habits? That's my feelings, my thoughts, my priorities. And so the seed of everything, thoughts, feelings, habits, personality, finally ends up in my destiny or my experience of life. So my experience of life depends on the thoughts I have. Now that's pretty empowering. I mean, it does mean I can't blame other people anymore. But it's wonderful to know that I choose. I can choose my thoughts. It takes practice because I'm used to just doing whatever comes in and accepting whatever thought comes in and going with it. But I can choose what I want to think and what I don't want to think, what I don't want to think about. And really noticing that when I'm in that spiral, that downward spiral of, I don't like this, I don't like them, this isn't good, they shouldn't say that, it's not fair, poor me, I can't be bothered, it's not worth it. All of these very negative, very tired expressions that can go around in our minds again and again and again. And the thing about negative thoughts is that they're very fast and they're often repeated. So quite often, though, that sort of vibration, that sort of energy, negative energy, is going around in my head. Even if I'm on a fantastic beach, or even if, I'm in the countryside, or even if it's a sunny day, or even if whatever it is, still in my mind, the habit could be there to have these just, I'm seeing the things that I don't like instead of the things that I do like. I'm seeing the things that are wrong rather than things that are right. So it's like on a big piece of paper, do I see the spot or do I see the big white piece of paper? So it's a learning to focus on what's going to take me up, what's going to make me feel confident, calm, to have the courage to do something that perhaps I think I can't do, to have the flexibility to change my plans, to accept that things aren't always going to be the way I want them to be, the way I expect them to be. And I can only be flexible and courageous and confident if I'm in that awareness of my true value. And that true value has got nothing to do with what I look like, with what job I have or had, with what family I belong to, with what house I live in, with how many holidays I have, or whatever it is. My value has got nothing to do with those things. They're good. If they're good, they're good. But that doesn't define me. That doesn't define who I am. And nor does that give me my greatest wealth. You can be the richest person in the world, but unhappy. You can be the most beautiful person in the world, but you keep getting angry. You know, so, and we've seen this many, many times. People in very externally privileged positions are not happy. And so why is that? It's because we've become separated from that inner wealth of our true nature. And that's why we think we're not enough. We think we're not good enough. We don't have enough. We haven't accumulated enough things. We haven't been to enough places. We don't know enough people, whatever it is. But basically, I'm feeling that I'm not enough. I have to prove myself. I have to win people's love. I have to get more followers on Facebook, whatever it is. But if I spend time with myself, by myself, and spend time for myself as an investment in my own life, but also as a way of equipping, of preparing myself, of making myself ready to help others as well. If I fill myself with those qualities, then I feel quite different about myself. Now, it's not to say that I'm going to turn into Superman or Superwoman and be able to do everything perfectly, but what I will do is that I will bring my best to the situation. And my best may simply be to stay quiet when somebody's losing it. My best may be to help when somebody's not expecting help. Whatever it is, I will be able to stay calm and stable and in my self-respect. And if I'm in my self-respect, I'm not frightened of what's going to happen. I'm not worried about whether I'll lose face or whether I'll do something wrong or whether they'll say this or whatever. If I'm really in that place of spiritual self-respect, I, the soul, the powerful being of peace, then I can be of use. I can be of help. And it reminds me of the reason why I started meditating. And this was about 18 years ago. And there were two main reasons, really. And one was that I'd had so many addresses in my life. Sat down once and I worked out I'd had 28 addresses in 28 years. And I'd probably had about as many jobs. And it's not that I was always unhappy, but I just kept moving on. And if some of you know the character Tigger in Winnie the Pooh, you'll know that Tigger liked acorns, and then he said, no, I don't like acorns. And I like thistles, and no, I don't like thistles. Well, Rachel was a bit like that. I like this place, no, I don't like this place. And I realized that I was restless because I was always looking for more. I wanted more. It wasn't enough. But what I was doing is I was always expecting the change to come from outside. So I changed the place I lived, I changed my job, I changed my hobby, whatever it was, I thought that change had to happen outside. And the marvelous thing when I came across the Brahma Kumaris and I started to meditate, and the thing we learn, very soon, is that actually it's not about out there. It's absolutely purely about what's in here, what's in here. And in a way, what's happening out there is a mirror to say to me, have a look inside. And so one of the reasons why I came to meditation was this restlessness. But the second, and I think this is really important, the second was that I went through about 5 years, a period of 5 years, when a lot of very sad and very shocking things happened to people I was very close to my family and friends. And I remember thinking, it's not so much that I can't take anymore, but I can't give anymore. I was just empty. I was completely depleted. And I just felt I couldn't help. And that was a horrible feeling, actually. These people I loved, and I wasn't personally unwell, but I just wasn't, I was so empty, and I didn't know how to fill myself up. So I wasn't in a position to be able to help them. And this is, I think, for me, what I'm most grateful for, having started to meditate, is how it teaches me how to build up my capacity. And the word power is an interesting word, and usually it's kind of used for force, and I don't mean it like that at all. But I mean power simply in the sense of I can, because that's what power is. And power to tolerate. I can tolerate this. I can wait. I can accept things are different. I can adapt and be flexible. I can face this situation with self-respect and with courage, whatever it is. That sense of building up, that sense of I can do this, is really very important, and particularly important today when we don't know what is going to be the demand on us tomorrow or even later today. We don't know who's going to need our help and in what way. But if I am constantly doing those maneuvers like the army does, the maneuvers, so it's like I'm constantly practicing, rehearsing, learning and experiencing myself to be in that state of calm, confidence, compassion, happy to be cooperative, whatever it is. If I'm bringing that sense and that attitude into myself, then I'm preparing myself for whatever does happen. And so recognizing that I can actually do whatever I really feel is important. We have a lot of I can'ts. This is part of this. I can't do that. But what if I shifted it to I can? I may not have done it before. I may not do it the way other people do it. But if something is important to me and I see the value of it, I can do it. And we talk a lot in Raja Yoga meditation about the 8 powers. And these are the spiritual powers that come from meditation, from spending time with myself, from building up that sense of inner worth, inner value. And those are the powers to accommodate, to step back, to let go, and very importantly in these times especially, the power to discern, like to distinguish what's valuable, what's not valuable, what's useful, what's not useful, what's kind, what's not kind, what's true and what's not true. And the latter is particularly challenging when we live in a world of untruth and post-truth. And, we have to just check everything that we hear. But when I am in that self-respect, when I am connected with my inner wisdom, I will know. I will have that quiet knowing what's the right thing to do. And nobody can teach me that. Nobody can tell me that. I have to just spend time connecting with that inner self, with those qualities. And Raja Yoga meditation has kind of 2 steps to it. And the first is connecting with the soul, connecting with the inner being. So it's not that I'm running away, but just temporarily I'm disconnecting from the outside world and external stimuli, external requirements or demands. I'm just stepping back, even if it's just in my mind. I may still be in the room, I may be in a meeting, whatever, but in my mind, I'm stepping back, and instead I'm looking inside at what's going on, at what's there, and what wealth I have inside me. And I'm reminding myself of that. And as I start to remind myself that I am a peaceful soul, I am naturally happy. Love is my true natural way of being. If I start to just remind myself of this, something resonates within my heart and I say, yes. And I know that in my everyday life, it doesn't always look like that and it doesn't always feel like that. But that's okay. I know that that is who I really am, and that is what I'm working towards. That's what I'm practicing for, so that whatever situation I'm in, whatever comes in front of me, whatever is said to me, I can respond from that place of peace, and that place of love, and that place of knowing that I'm happy. I don't need you to make me happy. I am happy. So it's like a difference. I often say it's a difference between coming to a relationship or a situation or a meeting, either with a begging bowl which says, please make me happy, please like me, please do what I say, please agree with me, whatever it is. So that begging bowl. Or if I've done that inner work, if I've connected with the inner goodness of the soul, I come with a fruit bowl. You want a banana? Here's a banana. You need an orange? I'll give you an orange. Whatever quality is needed, whether it's lightheartedness, whether it's patience, whether it's compassion, whatever somebody needs, I'm ready. And the reason I'm ready is that I'm connected with my inner truth. At my core, I'm connected with who I am as a spiritual being. And beyond connecting with other people in a more benevolent and positive and constructive way, when I'm in that awareness of being the soul, the point of light in the forehead, separate from this body, then it's only a step to imagine myself using my mind's eye, not my physical eyes, but my mind's eye, to imagine myself connecting with the being of peace that is eternally 100% pure, with my parent, with the divine, also a point of light, also with those qualities of peace, love, happiness, purity, wisdom. So the qualities the soul and the Supreme Soul have are the same. So what's the difference? We've forgotten ours. We've lost sight of them. But the Supreme Soul never loses anything. So we come into physical bodies and therefore we react and we respond to life's events and to pain and to age and to change. But the Supreme Soul, the Divine, a point of light, And so I, as the point of light in that awareness, can connect with this eternal being, this most beautiful consciousness that is only love, unconditional love, and that only wants and only sees the best in me. So I, the soul, released from my physical body, just in my mind's eye, I just let go of that awareness of how I look, what I do, what I'm good at, what are my responsibilities. I let go of all of that just for a little while. And I imagine myself to be without a body, no body. Just imagine I, still that being, that experiencer, pure consciousness. I, the soul, peace, love, happiness, purity, wisdom, connecting with the eternal source of peace, love, happiness, purity, wisdom. And it's a very loving connection. It's not just a theory. It's a reunion of a child and a parent, or maybe two friends, because God can be my friend as well as my parent. God can be my child. God can be my playmate. God can be my teacher. But I have that company, that beautiful company, whenever I choose, simply by using my thoughts to take myself, first of all, into soul consciousness, as we call it, being aware of the soul, the self as the soul, and then in soul consciousness to connect with the supreme consciousness, to connect with God. And when I'm in that loving connection, that link of love, I feel so happy. I feel so full. I don't have anything else to think about or worry about or prove or do. I simply am. And I feel the love coming from my parent or my friend. I feel waves of love washing over me and filling me with all the qualities that I need, so that I too come away from that experience, come away from that connection, changed inside myself. I feel differently about myself. And what's happened is that I've been able to take myself up to a more elevated level, a higher vibration through that connection with the divine. And I can return to my everyday life, and everyday conversations, being at the bus stop, whatever it is I'm doing. But in my mind, there is still that elevated awareness of my own goodness, my own inner beauty, and the treasures within myself that I have that are always available to me. The powers to cooperate, to tolerate, to be courageous, to let go, to decide, whatever it is. I have within me what I need. Our organization has always been run by elder sisters called daddies. And there was one elder sister, a very, very special soul called Daddy Gulzar. And she passed away a year ago. And she played a very special role for all of us. And was an extraordinarily beautiful soul. is an extraordinarily beautiful soul. And she once said, there is no problem for which the soul itself does not have a solution. And this is what it is to be ready, is to know that I have inside me what I need and what I can use to help others. It's inside me. But what I do need to do is I need to spend time in silence, to spend time looking at what's inside and looking at the good things first of all, because that's most important, to start there. And then when I've built up a certain level of self-respect, then I'm strong enough to look at what's not so good, the things that are holding me back, the things that are underneath my anger and expecting and wanting to be right, wanting to have things my way. And it always, the cause of anger is some deep pain, is some loss, is some need, some lack. And nobody can fill that for me except God. And nobody can do the work, not even God. I have to do the work. I have to do the work of looking at what's inside there with compassion, but also with honesty and with a determination that I want to change. I want to let go of this pain. I want to let go of this feeling of guilt or not feeling good enough or whatever it is, because I know it's holding me back. And I know it's actually causing a lot of pain for me, but it's also causing pain for other people in my life. But if I do that work, if I spend that time and make it a priority to do a little bit of inner cleaning, meditation has been called cleaning the mind, and a sense of getting rid of the negative, the dark, the rubbish, the old stuff. This happened, that happened. But instead, I replace the old negative, unhappy thoughts, resentful thoughts, complaining thoughts, critical thoughts, comparing thoughts. I replace them, and I choose to replace them. And I have to do it very consciously in a very disciplined way, loving discipline, but disciplined way. I replace them with thoughts of self-respect, of compassion, of generosity, kindness, love, because that's who I really am. That's why these things touch us so much. And it's why we're looking for happiness and love and peace, because that's who we really are, and we've lost it. So of course you look for what you've lost. So I really recommend that you make time for yourself, quality time to be with yourself. And instead of expecting, inspect. So instead of looking outwards, look inside. Look inside at what's going on in here. Look at the good. Congratulate yourself. Experience gratitude and compassion and love. But also then look at what's not so good, what's not helpful, what's not actually natural to us. Because there is a difference between what is natural and what is normal. And yes, looking at the world today, you would say that negativity is normal. This is normal. But this is natural. And so it's getting back to the pure self, to the natural nature of who we really are. And so being ready for anything is doing that work. And maybe doing's the wrong word. Being ready is just making time to just be and to recognize who I am and to bring the qualities that I have inside myself, the powers, the treasures, the tools, whatever it is, so that those are the things that I reach for when something happens. And I reach for them, but I also connect with God. Because if I stay in the awareness of God, in the awareness of the divine, then I will automatically do what comes from a place of my conscience, from a place of my values. Because in that, even just in my mind, in that mental connection with the divine, in a loving connection with the divine, I will respond in a way that comes from my heart, a full heart. Whereas if I'm disconnected from the divine, and I'm disconnected from my own self and my own goodness, then of course I will come from a place of fear and expecting and wanting to take. And so, expecting nothing, accepting whatever is. Not that I'm a walkover, but just expecting that things, or knowing rather, I'll not use the word expecting, knowing that things are as they are. It's one of my favorite phrases. It is what it is. And I can't change things. What I can do is change myself and accept the things that I cannot change. What quite often is the norm is that we don't change what we could change and we try and change what we cannot. And that probably is the reason for a lot of unhappiness in the world today. So, being ready for anything, I'm full, I'm confident, quietly, humbly confident. I have courage and I have the company of God. So of course I will bring my best and I will be my best. Expecting nothing, it is what it is. What do I need to do now? Okay, it isn't what we expected. Outcome is different. Response was different. What do I need to do now that will improve things? What do I have to offer? And in that knowing that I have a lot to offer. And when I'm connected with God, I'm completely safe. I'm in the best possible company. And I will come from the best place within myself. So I think it's a beautiful topic for today, and a very important topic for today, is that really switching, making a big shift in the way that we see ourselves, coming from a place of giving rather than a place of taking and needing. And so instead of, when I'm in that place of giving, then instead of expecting, I trust. I trust in my own capacity. I trust in God's help. I trust in the goodness of all souls. And I hope. And I accept. And I'm flexible. And so there's a kind of flowing feeling about it. Because, of course, expecting is rigid. It has to be like this. Whereas being ready, it's a bit like being a squash player, or a squash, tennis, football, whatever it is. But I like particularly squash as an analogy. If you've ever played squash, the ball can come from any direction. You don't know where it's going to come. But you're ready for the ball, you're holding your racket, may come from the back, it may come from over there, but you're ready. Because the ball doesn't come to you where you are. It doesn't come where you're expecting it. Never does. But I need to be ready. And the analogy of a game is actually, I think, quite a good one. And just recognizing, I talked about the 3D soap opera of life. But, to some extent, to see life as a game. Now, I'm not saying, of course, there are a lot of serious things that are happening, but also there is a sort of element of, okay, so how can I play this game as best I can? How can I respond as best? What will be the best shot for this? Where do I need to be here? All of that kind of, just that sense of, instead of coming from a place of fear or of force, that sense of flexibility and playfulness and experimenting, I think can be very, very helpful, very valuable. And so I've just been very happy to share a few thoughts with you, and I hope it's been useful for you, and that there's been something that you'll find worthwhile thinking about or practicing, or just observing in other people. But certainly if you haven't done the Raja Yoga course, the meditation course, I really recommend you do it. I absolutely loved it, and I love it to this day. Whenever I'm either hearing it or teaching it, it's like, oh, great. Because I learned so many really useful things, in a very, very practical things. And they've been especially practical over these last 2 years when, we've all been challenged. We've all been pushed to the limits, and we couldn't do what we're used to doing, and we couldn't see the people we're used to being with, or we were with people we didn't expect to be with all the time. Whatever it was, the world over has really been forced to change, and also just not to take anything for granted, and to do things differently. And so the practice that I've had of meditating, of making time for myself as a priority, not just, it's something I'd like to do if I've got a spare hour on Sunday, but this is what I do without fail every day. I start my day, I end my day, and I have times within the day. And not only like fixed times when I'm sitting, but this thought that meditation really isn't just about sitting and in a certain position and I'll do this or I'll think this. But meditation is about having that awareness of soul consciousness, whatever I'm doing. So just about half an hour ago, I was chopping carrots, or it must have been an hour ago, actually, because I've been here for half an hour. About an hour ago, I was chopping carrots. Or, I could have been at my desk, or I could be in the road, walking down the road, or I could be in a meeting, or whatever it is. Can I have that feeling that I'm a soul? And so as I'm talking to you now, I'm not seeing you physically, but I'm aware of you. It's like I feel the vibration. And I'm aware of you as souls. I'm not seeing your bodies, so I can't I can't be aware of anything else. Maybe that's something that's quite nice to practice over the next few days, over the weekend. Whoever I see, and even when I look at myself in the mirror in the morning, just look at that place in between the eyes, in the forehead, and just acknowledge that's where the soul is. The soul is looking through the eyes, hearing through the ears, using all the limbs that I've got. But that's who I am. That's who you are. That's who all of us are. And we all are souls, children of the one Father, the Supreme Soul, the Divine, who wants nothing more than that we become our best, that we rise up again from this sense of lowness, that we bring ourselves up, and that then we are in our full capacity, content, confident, compassionate, but we are not expecting anything from anyone else. We're in command of our own selves, of our own lives. And we're ready. We're ready to help. We're ready to listen. We're ready to be quiet. We're ready to accept. We're ready to change. We're ready to be who we really are. So thank you very much. And I'd now like to just take us through a little meditation experience. And for those of you who are new here, who haven't listened to one of these talks or been to one of the talks before, we meditate with our eyes open. And it's exactly for the reason I've just been talking about, that we don't just meditate sitting down or at a particular time. We meditate. The idea is that meditation is that awareness, whatever we're doing, that soul consciousness. So I invite you just to, you can either look at something in your room, just rest your eyes on something in your room, or you can rest your eyes on the point in the middle of my forehead, wherever is comfortable. You don't have to stare, just let your eyes be comfortable. And then just allow yourselves, within just a few seconds, just relax your whole body. Perhaps loosen up your legs. You can shift your shoulders a bit. Relax your arms, your feet, so that you feel very comfortable. And your physical body isn't making any demands on you. And now, in your mind's eye, focus on that tiny point of light in the middle of your forehead. So tiny and so powerful, like a laser beam. And this is who I am. Life energy. Consciousness. A soul. And what makes me who I am, and the qualities that I have eternally, are the qualities of peace, love, wisdom, happiness, and purity. So I am a peaceful soul. I am ready. I am a loving soul. I'm ready. I'm a happy soul. I'm ready. I am a wise soul. I'm ready. I am a pure soul. And when I, the pure soul, connect with that being of 100% purity, with the divine, I am ready. Shanti. Thank you very much. And I'm now going to hand back because I think there are going to be some announcements. But thank you very much for joining this evening. And I hope that something has been useful to you and that maybe you'll enjoy practicing some of the ideas that we've been talking about. So without further ado, good night.
Thank you very much, Rachel, and for your inspirational talk for this evening. To those out there, just want to make a quick announcement regards to our talk for next week. We have Shantanu Bhai from Madhuban, who's going to be joining us again from 7 to 8 p.m. with the topic being stepping out of our comfort zone. Again, the topic is called Stepping Out of the Comfort Zone, and that's going to be next Friday at 7 to 8 p.m. And we hope to see you all then. So in the meantime, have a lovely week, and we'll see you all next Friday. Thank you. Om Shanti.